Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Mr. Kowald, and in this video I'm going to be talking about measurements. So let's get into this. So what is the nature of measurements? Well, a measurement is a quantitative observation. Now I can make observations about a whole lot of things. I can observe this whiteboard and say, oh, it's long. Well, how long? Uh, Pretty long. That's not really going to be helpful, right? So we need, when we do quantitative measurements, right? We're trying to get a quantity. We measure and we observe by measuring and getting a quantity. So, for example, I can use a measuring device. This is where measuring devices come in. And then I could observe the length or width of my whiteboard. So here I have a stick, right? And so I can say, okay, well, let's measure the board here. So that would be 1, and then that'll be 2, and then I'll put that's 3, and then about 4, a little bit more less than 4. So 3 and 3 3/4 maybe, right? So that would be the length of my board. What is that? 3 3 3/4 what? Oh, yeah. What, this isn't gonna work? Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, although that I can measure it with this device, right? Now I can say it's 3.3 3/4. That means nothing to you, right? 3 3/4 of what, right? So, like, how long is this stick? I could just say 3 3/4 length of the stick. Well, that's not going to be useful because different sticks are different lengths. There's no standard, so we need a standard unit that we can measure by. So units are very, very important for measurements. If you don't put the units, then that's going to be a problem, right? So when we measure in science, we're making observations, we're making measurements, and then we're recording those measurements, and those are our observations. That's part of the observations we make in the scientific world. This is one of the reasons why math and science are different. So math doesn't really care about units, right? Pure math we're talking about. Like, so if I have a 5, that 5 is just 5. But if I have 5 feet or 5 inches, that's going to be different. That's going to make a difference, right? So when we use our measuring device, this particular measuring device, we have units, right? And you can see here that the units are on one side, on the top here, centimeters, and then on the bottom, it's inches. So depending on what side you're measuring with, the units are going to be different. So even if I use this stick and I say, okay, I measure the length or the width of my whiteboard, and let's say I say, oh, it's 36. Well, 36 what? 36 inches, 36 centimeters, 36 feet, right? So the units matter. So, but in math, right, I can say it's 36. I could take 36 and multiply that by 2 or 3, and I get a number. And it doesn't matter if the units are feet or inches, right? I can multiply those numbers and get an answer. But when you're using measurements in science, units matter. You can't take like 5 feet and multiply by 2 inches. That's not going to work, right? So the units matter. So it's important when you're writing down your numbers, you're going to have a number. Let's say I have 32, right? Just by writing 32 is not going to cut it, right? And your teacher or professor, if you're not writing down units, they're going to take points off. They're not going to give you credit for just a number. So make sure you're writing your units. So if it's inches, write inches. If it's feet, write feet. If it's seconds, write seconds, right? So you have to have the number and the unit. That is what the nature of a measurement is. You're measuring some quantity in using a standard unit, and you've got to let people know what unit you are measuring with. Okay. And this is also where significant figures come in. And this is going to be part of your course, or later in a video, I'm going to talk more about this. But when we talk about significant figures, that is because you are talking about measurements. In math class, in pure math class, you don't really talk about sig figs or significant figures all that much because it's not really that important for pure math, right? So if I take, 5, right, and I multiply that by 3, I get 15, right? No problem, right? It doesn't matter if your 5 is 5.00 or 5.0, you multiply that by 3, you get 15 in math class, right? In math class, it's 15. But if these are measurements, then the number of digits you have, these zeros, are going to be important, and that's going to determine your answer. So in math class, they could be all 15. In science class, where you're using measurements, this would not be just 15. It would be, well, in this case, we'd have to, the 3 there. So let's say that's 3. So this would be 15. This would be 15. This here would not be 15, but 15.0. And here, if this is one digit, right, and there's no digits afterwards, then this is actually going to be 20, right? So right now, that probably doesn't make sense if you're beginning with regard to sig figs, but this comes about because you're working with measurements, not just numbers, right? So that'll be another video, but I hope this is helpful. I hope this was a learning experience. If you like this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell so you can be notified of other videos I put out, and put a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think. If you have any other questions, thanks for joining me. Have a great day.